Alright, how we doing, folks? Here, Bull Marcos 1205 numbers after the name. What the hell, man? I brought you some Freestyle Friday last week. Resident Evil 7. We'll bring you another one, man. Might as well just throw the bosses up here. Kind of like do like Dark Souls. We're throwing the bosses up here now. I got like 5 or 6 bosses I still got to throw up here. The Dark Souls. I actually got a little bit nervous in the Dark Souls front because I couldn't find the video from when I beat Gwyn, like the last boss of the game. But then I remembered, oh, that's the video I used when I actually beat Dark Souls like last year at this point or something like that, man. So, a little bit confused here as to how to play this guy, right? So we run into Papa Baker here again, which if you noticed, he definitely didn't die. Some people say this is the toughest boss fight in the game. It's probably the one where I died the most in, but I didn't really consider it necessarily to be too hard. You kind of have to figure out the mechanics over here as to how to play it, and you kind of have to realize, which is something that the first couple times I kind of just died because I didn't know that you ended up picking up this chainsaw. Like, I didn't know that this was like a thing that you could do. So it was pretty cool, man. Resident Evil 7, I have nothing but good things to say about it. And eventually I'll beat the game's beat. And I beat it early this week. It'll come up. If you notice, like, I kind of stagger my, like, I'm kind of like a couple games ahead always of what I end up posting the video on. So Resident Evil 7 might not hit till like 2 or 3 weeks from now, whatever. But I'll be posting these videos over here, man. But just give these guys like a very early on impression, man, about the game. It does something really fascinating, man. It starts you. So all the marketing kind of painted us that Resident Evil was going to be a complete different game than it was, right? Like it had nothing to do with Resident Evil, with first person, you know, even the demos and stuff. There wasn't really that much items unless you kind of like figured out how to like get stuff or whatever. You kept digging into like the kitchen demo. I never played the second one, which I think is the first hour of the game. I never played that one. I thought that might like spoil a little bit too much, so I only played the kitchen demo, the first one that came out, I think, like at E3. So you kind of got a feel for it, but you got to feel that it was going to be a lot more Outlast, a lot more even like PT, and it's kind of what they impressed you with. And you start the game that way, right? Like you're about, I'd say about an hour and a half into that in the game of like, okay, like this is a lot different than anything I've like played in the Resident Evil franchise. And then it kind of, you start like picking up some items, right? And some items that you recognize and that we've done, you know, the herbs, a shotgun, you know, stuff like that. You start some inventory management, and it kind of hits you like subtly. You're like, oh, this is a lot of Resident Evil in here. Okay, this is cool. And then you progress throughout the game, and you start noticing some things, right? Like, it's very similar to how like a Papa Baker kind of rolls around, how they're kind of around over there. Similar to like a Nemesis, right? Like they kind of just show up and stuff like that. There's a little bit like similarities in terms of that. There's still a lot of new stuff and a lot of different stuff. Like example, like Jack's traps, I thought were like really cool. That little section, it's honestly one of my favorite ones of the game, where you it's kind of just a big riddle and mystery how to get through stuff. I think the VHS stuff is really cool too, experiencing stuff like that. I think I'm really excited for where the series is going in terms of like a Resident Evil 8. They give you like some storyline kind of caveats towards the end that also tied into Resident Evil as well. I'm not going to really spoil anything. But they do tie it kind of a little bit more in, even though it leaves it still pretty open-ended. But I'm excited for Resident Evil 8 because if you go and look at Resident Evil 7, there's really not a lot to this game. It's actually a pretty short game. I beat it in 2 sittings. I think my run time was like 8 hours. I think it took me to beat, maybe like 7.5, 8 hours, without any walks, without knowing anything about it. And I could see where there's a trophy and achievement that's like beat it under 4. I can really see how that works. I don't even think it'd be like that hard to do, honestly. Initially you could play it on the normal mode, then you unlock a harder mode after that, which I think it's called Madhouse, something like that. So curious to maybe try that maybe later on. But there's a subtlety of things going, and if you notice, you reuse a lot of the areas in the game. Like one of the things that the movies do is that they walk you through other areas that you'll be going in. So you're going in the same areas, just a different coating of paint, which I think is a very easy way for a program to save kind of space. So I'm curious to see when Resident Evil 8 comes out and they have a little more oomph to it. Where do we go? What do we do? And Papa Baker, I know what you're doing, dude. You're going night-night, son. Like my man said, I hope you stay dead. I think you realize a couple Fridays, that's not exactly how this game works. Your Bull Marcos, man. We outie.